Okay, this video we're going to be going over some of the different cutting tools and coolant system on the Haas lathe. As far as the tools go, it's really not much different than what you have been using in the first 3 semesters in our program, other than the fact that maybe they're all carbide. I know a lot of your parting tools and grooving tools have been high-speed steel. We're going to be using carbide here. You can use high-speed steel, just we don't have the holders for them that fit in our Haas lathe. So for the most part, you're going to be using right-handed tools, and that's basically the common tool that you have been using. If you could picture this part being your chuck and standing here, that's the tool that you have been using that cuts into the chuck. In the case of our Haas lathe, we're going to be holding them upside down, and if you can envision this workbench here as your lathe, and your part is here, and your tool is going to be coming down from there, and your tool is going to be working into it. A right-handed tool is going to be working into it. And what this does is you need a clockwise rotation, and which is an M03 on your machine. There are going to be cases, like in this instance with this parting tool, is you have to mount that tool in here like this, and in that case you're going to want a counterclockwise rotation, which is an M04. So you do have to know what rotation you need to program for the tool that you're using. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through on how to measure all these tools with your tool probe, and then we're going to go through in a little bit here and I'll show you how to mount them actually into the turret. So once again, if you could just envision this workbench as a lathe, your workpiece is down here and your tool probe pops down here. Okay, so as your tools come down from here, this is your tool probe for the Z direction. You want to bump off this side and this side. Same thing for this here right-handed tool, be like this, here, and here. Okay, so now we have a left-handed tool. So if you come down here with your tool probe, it's really hard to bump off that edge, okay? The X is still going to be the same, but on this time, with this tool, we're going to come on this side of the tool probe and go this way and bump off of it, okay? The machine knows how big that tool probe is and it calculates it. For your threading and your grooving tools, it's the same thing. Be your X, come over here and be your Z. Okay? And once again, you have to know which side of that grooving tool you're going to bump off of. You can come over here, but then you have to program that accordingly, the width of your tool. In a case like this, with this kind of tool, with this, you'll be able to do the X, but you won't be able to come over here and do the Z. The way the tool is mounted in the machine, it doesn't allow you to get this close with the tool holder down here. So actually what you need to do, and this is almost a 2-person job, you can call me over, I can help you out, is you want to have somebody hold that up against that, and then have the machine come in and bump up against the tool probe, and then you're going to offset. If you're using a 1-inch gauge block, you're going to offset at 1 inch. Like I say, when you get to that, and there is a project that we use a tool holder like the grooving tool like that. In the case of the center tool, okay, here again, there really isn't a good surface to bump off against. The X is no problem, but this way is an issue, okay? And actually you're going to be in there like that, upside down. So what you want to do is just take a caliper's micrometer, measure that. That says that's 744. Well, that center of that tool should be in the center of that holder. So I'm going to come over. I'm going to bump off the edge of my part, or edge of the tool holder. And then once I do that, in the offset page, you can offset half of that 744, and you're going to want to go the negative direction to bring that center of that tool over here. When you mount these tools in the turret, there's basically 2 pieces that you need. You need the clamp and the wedge. And we're going to go through that in here in just a minute and how to go that and how to mount those in there. As far as the coolant system goes, this is a coolant block that they use. Inside their turret, the coolant is injected through here, and it has an option of going both ways. You can have coolant coming out of both ends, okay? Normally what you're going to have is you're going to have a plug on one end so no coolant comes out of one end, and then you have a number of different options that you can use on the other end where you want the coolant to come out. There's a straight nozzle, there's a long straight nozzle, there's even a couple nozzles that come out at an angle. All you need to do is just loosen these up, and if you have to change them, you just got to loosen them up a little bit. You don't have to take them out all the way, and you can interchange these and then tighten them back up. And once again, we'll show you how those get mounted into the machine. So we're going to move on over to the machine and take a look how these get mounted in the turret. Okay, so now we're over at our machine. We're going to mount just a right-handed tool into our turret. So first thing you want to do is make sure you have the proper tool. You can look on your screen and see what tool's called up, and it's going to be, if tool number, looks like we have tool number 12 up, and that's this one right here. Okay, so when that tool is called up, that's this one here. You obviously don't want to mount it up here and have tool number 12 because that's in the wrong pocket. So when you look on your turret, there's actually two sets of holes in there. The two sets of holes are in there depending on which way you're going to hold your tool. If you're going to hold your tool upside down, like we will most of the time, you can see all of our other tools are held like that. Or if you want to hold your tool this way, upwards, where you're going to use a M04 or counterclockwise rotation, then you're going to want to mount your tool in a different location. But for mounting your tool on the bottom like that, upside down, is you want to push this tool holder up against the turret body here. So you're going to use the bottom set of holes. And there's a number of different ways you can do this. When you mount that, your wedge in, or your clamp in there, you have to make sure that the straight edge is going to go up against the tool holder and the slanted edge is going to be held into by the wedge. So we're just going to get in here, just get our screws started. Don't over tighten them, otherwise you won't fit your tool in there. So we got both of those in there. And now I'm going to slide my wedge in there. Your tool, you want to have that slanted edge up against your tool holder. Or tool clamp. Got that in there. Take your tool. And you just kind of hold it in there. And you usually want to hold it away. You don't want to get it up tight because you will run into problems with running into your live center. So just hold it away a little bit. Take your wrench. Once you get one snug, you can let it go. I got both of them snug. Now I'm just going to tighten them up. Here again, you don't have to have them super tight. So now we have our tool mounted in there and it's ready to be measured and cut with. If you notice, remember we're using the bottom set of the holes. And this tool here, where it's held upright, not upside down, we're using the top set of holes and it's pushing that tool down on the bottom of the turret column. And then for your coolant block, all that does is, I'll show you on this tool up here, just a little bit easier to see. That just gets held in there like that. Your screws get turned into those tapped holes. And this is where you're going to want to do your adjustments. Now here, there would be no need for the coolant to come out of there because there's no cutting on it here. Here the coolant gets blasted up right there. As far as removing these tools, if you notice there was one hole right in here, that's a tapped hole. Basically what that's for is that releases that angular lock that it has on that tool. Another simpler way to do it almost is just loosen these up. Then just take a rubber mallet, and if you just give it a tap, it comes right out. And if you're ever taking a tool out for whatever reason, you're going to run, you definitely want to remove this because they will loosen up and that wedge will fall out and you end up losing parts. So if you're just removing a tool and you're going to keep on cutting, you definitely want to take that whole all pieces out. So that concludes a video for mounting your tools in the tool holder.